Why
Yeah.
do most law firms struggle with branding and marketing? What are the best
Yeah.
mistakes attorney make while trying to grow? Hey everyone, welcome to the Vectorad
All right.
podcast where we break down what actually drives growth for modern businesses. I am Rohit. Today we got fantastic guest with us, Scott Trueblood from Brand Vision Marketing. Scott brings deep expertise in helping business turn visibility into real measurable revenue, especially in competitive industries like legal services. Unpack how branding and full service marketing can truly transform business outcomes. Scott, great to have you here. Really looking forward for this conversation. So, the topic when I shared with you from visibility to revenue, how strategic branding helps attorney grows their practice. How did you like the topic? Did you like it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that's an area that's always fascinated me. It's a category that's always fascinated me. So,
Wow,
absolutely love it.
nice. The first question, why
Yeah.
do most law firms struggle with branding and marketing?
Well, Rohit, I'm not sure most struggle with branding, to be honest, but it is a tough category to brand. I mean, when you look at it, no one, no one wants to hire an attorney, right? They have to. They
Right,
need to. No one wants to go through bankruptcy. No one wants to get arrested. No one wants to get divorced.
of
Although
course.
some probably do want to get divorced, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
If you're in that category, you're being dragged into it. It's not something that you're willingly seeking out, and that makes it a tough category to brand.
right. When I was in US, I saw a lot of outdoor hoarding law firm, all branding law firm. Oh my God. Law firm are doing too much branding, you see. Too much ATL, above the line, hoarding, newspaper ad. I see a lot of law firm doing that. The second question, what are the best
Yeah,
mistakes attorney make while trying to grow?
I guess I can look at that by looking at our process. Our
Right,
process, we have a three-step process in terms of
right,
building a brand. And the first step is the research phase. And we call that brand focus, where we're trying to identify a direction where we can take the brand, whether it's a startup
right.
or a company that's been around for 10, 15 years. We
Wow.
want to see where they are on the brand continuum and make sure we're heading in a direction that is profitable for them. Second step is brand training, where we get all of their employees on the same page. The employees are the brand's ambassadors, they're living the
Right,
brand. So
right.
we want to make sure they're living it in a way that equates to how we are promoting it.
True,
And
true.
finally, you've got the brand plan, which is the communications component where we bring the brand to life in the marketplace.
Right.
Now, we need three qualities to have a successful brand. You've got to be distinct. You have to differentiate yourself in a way that
Uh,
is relevant to people, that is meaningful to people. And you do that with continuity from touch point to touch point, you're going to have a successful brand.
Right.
Now, with that in mind, there are a lot of moving parts. And yeah, it's easy for, especially we're talking law firms. We deal with firms that have 2 to 4 attorneys, typically smaller firms, and they're managing HR, they're managing their own caseload, they're dealing with a lot, and they
Okay.
may not
True.
have time to really dedicate to the marketing process.
Right, right,
So I think if you're asking about mistakes, there are a lot of areas where you might misstep.
right.
You may think you have a direction, but you may not be the best direction to
Best
go.
direction.
You may think you have a differentiation point,
Right,
but you may not have the best differentiation point that speaks truly to a consumer's pain point. So
right.
I think those are probably the biggest mistakes we see.
And the third question, how does branding directly impact client trust and revenue?
Well, relationships, brands are about relationships at their
Right, of
core.
course.
It's
Of
all
course.
about, yeah. And relationships are really about trust.
True.
I mean, consumers build relationships, and the point behind a brand to begin with is to make the decision making process easier.
Right.
I don't go to the grocery store every week and spend 45 minutes in the frozen food aisle trying to pick out a pizza. I know what Red Baron brings to the table. I know what Tombstone brings to the table. I know.
Of
Otherwise,
course.
I'm standing there for 45 minutes just researching 87 different frozen foods brands. So
I swear.
the branding process really kind of helps that decision making go a lot easier. And at the core of that is relationships,
Got
and at
it.
the core of that is trust. If you build a relationship, then in the book I talk about consumers essentially having a mental filing cabinet of the mind, and when they have an interaction with the brand, that cabinet opens up and a manila folder opens up with that brand on it, and they file away results from that interaction in
Wow.
that manila folder. And with every touch point, they open that same manila folder and file those experiences away. And
Wow.
most of them are going to be good.
Of
Some of
course.
them are going to be neutral. Some are going to be bad. But the collection of what's in that manila folder of the mind is their relationship with the brand. And the more equity they have built up, the more
Yeah.
experiences they have built up, the
All
thicker
this time
that manila
ago.
folder, yeah, then you're going to have the potential for a deeper relationship with the brand, and more trust. And trust is going to
Right.
drive revenue there.
Wow. So two things, trust and relationship. Two things that you got to look at.
Yes,
Anybody who's listening this
absolutely.
episode should know the importance of this, what Scott has given on table. The fourth question, what does a strong marketing plan look
Yeah.
like today for attorneys?
You mentioned mistakes earlier,
Uh-huh.
and I think one that we see when I started the company in '93, you essentially had 6 ways to reach people, right? You
Wow.
had TV and radio, you had print with newspaper and magazines, you had direct mail, you had yellow pages and outdoor. And that was really what you were looking at if you wanted to build a brand. Now you've got thousands of different platforms.
So
It's
many, so
yes, it's
many, so
crazy.
many. Yeah, yeah,
So many, Rohit.
so many.
So
Yeah, yeah, true.
I think a mistake we see is firms trying to dabble,
Uh-huh.
and they spend a little bit here, they do a little bit there, and they end up blending instead of branding.
Wow.
So you're talking about a lack of focus, maybe,
Right.
because we see that a lot. You see this new shiny toy that you want to be a part of, and so you jump in a little bit and dabble here or there. But when
True.
we take over a client, essentially what we'll we look at their program, and usually we'll typically identify areas where they're not as focused as they need to be, because bottom line is you need to live where your customers live,
Of course.
and you need to build the brand around where they are
True,
centered.
true,
and
true, true. Well,
and if you
Scott,
do that, you'll build a successful brand and have a good plan.
of course, of course. It was a incredibly insightful, especially the connection between branding, trust, and actual revenue growth for law firms. I think a big takeaway here that branding isn't just about looking good, it's about being remembered, trust, and ultimately choosing and connection that you just said. Thanks again for sharing your expertise with us. For everyone who's listening, this episode would know knowledge about this. And in the next episode, we'll dive into business can become truly avoidable in their market using a full service marketing approach. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you so much, Scott. We love you for you being here.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Rohit.